Let's do it.
Welcome to our awesome live stream on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where Carly and I hang out, have a glass of wine, and talk about ponies. So, what are you drinking tonight, Carly?
So tonight, I usually leave this in Tom's hands. He's the one that goes to the liquor store for me. So he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Anything with a horse on it." So tonight we're drinking Dark Horse Merlot, and
Ooh.
that's not the one you drank the first episode.
No,
is
I
it?
haven't had it. No, I had
Okay.
Fire Steed or something like that.
Yeah, it's very good. It's I would say it's like semi-dry and a lot better than the wine I was drinking last week. So I'm very happy.
Wine.
Yeah.
So I've got. It kind of looks spooky.
Oh.
While also meeting my criteria of having a twist top because I left my cork opener in the horse trailer.
Oh, sad day.
So it's a Pinot Noir named Imagery, which is kind of cool. There was another one that I saw that had a horse on it, but it was like an actual cork. So maybe next week. Here we are. So I haven't tried it yet though.
Fair
Still
is it
on
a Pinot Noir? I don't know anything about wines. Is it
pretty
red?
sure it's a dark red.
Okay.
We're gonna find out. Yes.
So it's this Dark Horse Merlot. It's dark red.
This is like a I guess that looks like dark red. There's someone in here that actually is like good with wine. they will know. All right, if anyone is watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, can you guys comment for us? Because we can't see otherwise. We're not actually in like the Facebook Live.
Yeah, Tommy just asked me if we actually shared the live stream to Facebook.
That's a good question.
I
I set it up to stream live, so let's find out. I'm going to switch over there. Let's check. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Join us. Yep, I see me. We're there.
All right.
Pretty sweet. I'm going to go ahead and share this because my mom is like our biggest fan.
Yes. Honestly, your mom was our biggest fan for Spirits and Ghost Stories when we first started doing the live streams on Facebook, obviously. Your mom and Carol Ann were like our only consistent listeners for the longest time. And it made us feel so special.
All right, let me figure out how to.
Oh, yay. Okay, so we've got Lindsay Christina Dowdy says hi.
Hey.
Joy Seymour says hello. Shannon waving. And then Tammy Hannah says hi. It's Tammy, Hannah Julie Farnesky's friend. Cool.
Ah, so exciting.
I don't know, Genevieve, if you can click on any of the messages that come up so that we can highlight those.
I can. One second. I'm a one-track mind. All right. Sent to Linda. Sent to. Okay.
Oh,
link.
Caitlin says we're gone now.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like it says we're still there. Caitlin, you better be refreshing that stream. We are truly technically challenged. It's cool. And I know I've mentioned this before, but we have a platform called StreamYard, and basically it allows you to live stream at Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And it kind of aggregates all the feedback. So we get comments, but they all come into one comment chat for us. Fabulous, except we can't really see viewers. We can't really see like who's watching like you could if you were just streaming to Facebook. But then at the end of the day, it does record it to both platforms. So it makes it a lot easier. For you to get out there, which is pretty cool. All right, awesome. Let's see. How does Jen? This is my first time in the driver's seat. Usually Tom's in the background. That's why you see him peeping. But
so proud of you. He's still in the background, like shooting us messages, asking if we're doing everything appropriately. Val says she can still see us, so that's
perfect.
Good news.
I'm gonna go through the comments. Lindsay, hey. Joy, hello. Got Shannon. We have Tammy. Yes, so technically challenged. It's a gift. Yay, Val, you see us. Oh my gosh. Well, we have a pretty good group here. I'm gonna get a sip. And does anyone have like a subject? Hey, Tom. fabulous.
You're still here. Great. Caitlin's waving. Awesome. Yeah. Do we have a specific subject we want to talk about this evening?
If
We
anyone wants to
just,
drop it in the chat, that'd be
yeah.
fabulous.
I was going to say, Genevieve and I just got off a recorded episode with Katie Campbell. She messaged us recently and was like, hey, can I come on the show and just talk about my experience as a new games member, new games rider? And it was really, really cool to get to hear her story and find out like how she literally every year she rode. So she's only been riding games for like 3 years. Each year she literally hopped up to a new division. And this year's her first year in open. And I'm so excited to release that episode. I think it gets really sweat next week, you think, or the week after?
It depends on if we can convince Thomas to start doing 2 a week, which is my goal here.
Yeah.
You know, his bandwidth. But no, you're so right. She had so much energy, and I love having these interviews before live too, because you kind of like start ruminating on different topics and ideas. But Katie was awesome, and she's so passionate about growth because you're right. She's newer in the organization. She's only been riding for like 4 years, and she's already like run a demo and done like so much for the organization and just so passionate about getting other people involved in the sport. Like someone got her involved. So that was really, really cool. I see that we've got June on here. Hello. And then I see Scott or Carol Semler. They're incredible couple from work who
Hello.
someday we'll get you drug out to a games practice. But in the meantime, you can live vicariously through our excitement. How did MA6 go? Yeah, thanks, Thomas.
Let's talk about that.
For those who are new here, just to continue like setting the stage, my whole family competes in mounted games, sportive mounted games. And so I'm the middle sibling, but my older brother Thomas married this wonderful woman, Carly. And my younger brother Billy married a wonderful woman, Chase, and everyone madly competes in mounted games. So
it's now our lives.
Family. Yeah. Terrible. Joy. What is terrible?
No. What happened, Joy?
MA6? No. MA6 was wonderful.
What happened?
Yeah, what
the weather was the weather sucked for camping.
Yeah.
I'll put it out there. It was my first time ever, my entire life, sleeping in a tent, and it was the worst weekend to ever choose to have my first time in a tent. And I don't think I'll ever be back in one ever again. Yes. Okay. So Joy is saying, yes, it was terrible because it was so cold. Yes.
It was very
cold
British
and wet. Yeah.
I think what I realized too, like I'm sitting out there and it's cold. So to set the stage, right? We all go to Pennsylvania. We're competing in the sport mounted games, which is like relay racing on horseback. Yeah. And so we all show up in State College, Pennsylvania on Friday night, and we're getting our ponies bedded down. You're getting settled, and there's like a crisp breeze kind of brewing, right? And the clouds are kind of changing. You're like, okay, it's fine as long as it stays fairly dry. But in the morning, the clouds just broke open, and it was cold rain, and it just
windy.
doused us. Yes.
And the wind, like if it was just rain and just kind of like brisk, that would have been one thing. But it was literally the wind. Like my face is just like wind chapped. Like I have to like drench my face in moisturizer like 2 times a day ever since the weekend because my face is like peeling off. This is so bad.
And as soon as your clothes start to get wet, like it and that wind then hits. I think we were out there, and particularly because they ran the 025 sessions as concurrent. So the people who are working it, we were out there for long period, like 2 hours in this cold rain.
So 4 hours all together on Saturday.
It was rough for sure. And Val's got to. I didn't know they made heated sleeping bag. I mean, makes sense, but I didn't know that happened.
I have a heated blanket, and I did bring that, and that was fine. It made it bearable at night for sure. It was just the wind in my tent made it felt like I was trying to sleep in like a plastic trash bag. It was being opened, and it was just this all night long, like
there was no peace.
There was no peace whatsoever. It was very loud.
Oh my gosh. Saturday AM was definitely rough. I think we're finding that people were having some rough rides. I know that, pushing to go fast, made some mistakes. That's, I think, the big thing. And we had touched on it like last week when we were talking about when we're at home and in practice, and this isn't any discipline, right? Having kind of the drive to get out there and ride, even when it's rainy or it's not the best atmosphere, like that's the only way that you're going to get better so that when it happens and you're in competition, like you're prepared.
Right.
And it's hard to prepare for weird footing, rain, like, it was rough, definitely. And I think definitely when you're playing games like Bottle, where you've got that flat top on the barrel, if it's raining, like it is a totally different atmosphere in the way that you have to play. I know that we had some ponies and riders actually fell down because they were still pushing, coming home or pushing on the turns. Like you have to be very intelligent about how hard you're going to push your pony because you are competing. The same time, there's still safety, right? So I thought it was good. Some of the refs were actually stepping out and having like a good kind of down to earth like conversation. Hey guys, play to your conditions. You have to play to your conditions.
Right. And I think it's important to also note that because the weather was so bipolar just on Saturday alone, it felt like every session the footing was completely different. So even both sessions on Saturday as compared to the one session on Sunday, each day it felt like we were riding in a different ring.
Yep. No, 100%.
Yeah.
And they did Val has a good point, but they did go ahead and in the Pennsylvania arena, it used to have really deep footing. So when we would have a ton of rain, you kind of had traction to dig into, but it did not dry. Like we did not have the changing footing. It just like bogged out and you would still have the ability to ride in something really, really wet, but you dig in. They took like 4 inches of footing out of the arena to ensure that it would dry faster. But with that, I think when we had the sudden bursts of rain, it definitely got slick. Joy, I think it's hard to do concurrent since you get cold and the adrenaline wears off. I can't agree more. I am not a fan of the concurrent sessions. I know some people are, and no hate if you are. I think it's really hard because you don't get into a groove. Your pony doesn't get into a groove. Like they go out and then they cool off between it, particularly when it's like 40 degrees. So definitely like every time I've ever ridden concurrent, which for people who don't know, when you're playing mounted games, typically your teams are going to go out there and have like a session of riding. And so you're going to ride, say, 12 races and you go dun, 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 back to back. And you kind of,
you never leave the ring.
Yeah. And you work off the high of like the race before, the successes or the losses. And you kind of just like, it creates like the stream of consciousness when you're out there, right? But in concurrent, they have 2 sessions. And so the first rider bends, and then they come out of the arena. The second set of teams comes in and they bends. They do bending.
They get on a bender.
And then let's say they go to like a mug shuffle race, right? And then they leave the arena, someone else comes in and they do mug shuffle. And then maybe they do a different race and so on. So you only actually play 2 races back to back. And with that, when it's really, really cold, you're bringing ponies out of the arena and then you're, bringing them back in and basically working them back into, okay, we're competing again. So ponies that feel like they quit after, you get off and you stand for a little, it's very hard to remotivate and kind of get into a sync. I think it's hard.
It's super difficult.
Yep.
Yeah. And for everybody that's listening right now, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you get notifications of when our live streams happen, because sometimes they're not always going to happen at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. Sometimes they're going to be at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, depending on what our busy lives entail. So go ahead and do that for us because that really helps promote the algorithm and it helps push our content so that more people get to learn about games and then we can grow the sport that way.
Yep. No, 100%. Please like, subscribe. We have seen like a fair amount of growth, I think, on our Facebook group. I was pretty excited. We have like over 100 followers now. We got to get our YouTube numbers up here so that you guys can see when we're actually posting content. I am reaching out actively, and I'm going to get to some of the comments here in a second, but I am reaching out actively to the heads of different organizations. So while I want this to stay a platform for mounted games, because I'm very passionate about the sport, obviously there's just so much content. Like you could go, I think, hundreds of episodes and not touch everything. Right. Like it really is. Right. But at the same time, I think all of us are also rooted in our love for horses. And it's interesting to hear what's working for other organizations too, or get exposed to new stuff. So I've reached out. We've got the president of the United States Pony Club, like nationally.
What?
Yes.
What?
Like like their
Awesome.
Facebook group has over 30,000 followers. They're in talks to come on the show as long as we continue showing, growth. And we've got President United States Polo Cross Association. We're talking Mounted Archery Association, Working Equitation Association. The goal is to continue branching out and just creating a platform for all of us to get exposure to best practices and stories and tips and tricks in different disciplines. So liking, subscribing does help us get the reach to get more informed individuals onto the show.
Which makes the content overall for everybody involved.
Yes. Exactly. It's going to just be better. So, and also please give us feedback after this episode. Message us with what you want to see in the future. If you have any ideas, I had someone reach out about clicker and treat training, Jen Najee. Like, thank you so much for that suggestion, because I wouldn't have thought of that. But there's a specialist that actually really dives into it. I think it'd be so cool to bring them on here. So, little plug. Please like, subscribe. Please reach out to us with any ideas. And back to the show. I think concurrent actually takes longer. My personal opinion is that it does. A lot of people don't believe that. So it depends. It's a little bit easier on ring crew because you can just set stuff up and then move on. But I don't know. It is hard to get into a rhythm for sure. It just changes the dynamic of the games is what it does. Tom here. I know the cold affected our team. Yeah, messed up 3 mug and mug shuffle. Honestly, I think that's one of the hardest things about the cold weather to me. I get my hands get so cold. Like they just get cold, and really riding games with gloves isn't really, you just don't have the feel to set equipment or to hand off. So it's very difficult to keep your hands warm enough to do the skills at speed. You just start to lose that feel that you would normally have. So again, good to practice in the cold. Our friends up north get to do that quite a bit, but
I'm not jealous there.
I know, right? All right.
Joy says, I messed up 3 mug because I couldn't feel the mug in my fingers. Yeah, that was definitely an issue. It was just so cold, and you guys rode so early in the morning on Saturday. I think it was supposed to start at 7:30, but it got pushed back to 8:30 because of the rain and everything flooding. But it was so cold, and I'm so glad that they pushed it back an hour, because can you imagine having to ride at like 7:30? Like everything would have been numb at that point. No.
Yep. No, and I think we've got comments on hands and fingers getting really, really cold. I think definitely an opportunity for like a hand warmer in the pocket. You always keep it like in your box just in case.
Yeah. I've already decided, like, because of how cold this past weekend was, and it was just the beginning of October and how miserable I was, I've already decided, like, I'm investing in heated pants for this winter, because I already have a heated hoodie that I already wear that I wore last year in the winter time underneath my overalls, and then my big like Carhartt jacket. So I'm planning on getting like heated pants and my heated shirt, and then wearing my overalls and Carhartt jacket so that I can just ride no matter what the weather is.
Buying a heated vest was like the best in good winter boots. I have like the Ariat thermal boots, which just saved my feet. It didn't matter how many pairs of socks I'd put on. Like I'd be out in the barn and I'd be like hurting. So save my feet. They're amazing. Heated vest, heated jacket. It all matters in the winter because it takes some of the bulk off of you. Val definitely had the Farrells. The Farrells are an incredible team of kids that Val has been coaching. So we had mentioned that we were in our interview and we're like, those feral children. And we're like, we should probably explain this, but
we didn't. So you're going to love it. When Katie's interview comes out, listen for the Farrells. I think we talk about you guys like 3 separate occasions.
Yeah. Incredible team. Definitely had them do huge checks and give handoffs to work with the cold hands. And you're right. Like when you're young, we got to teach kids. And I mean, honestly, everyone could use a reminder to play to your conditions. You know, you got to slow down. You got to slow down. It's just how you're going to play well. Joy, who is way up north compared to us, New Hampshire, we do play in the cold odd winter, but practice is very different. Next year, we're bringing hand warmers. Good call. If you find a brand that you like the most, let me know. It definitely is rough in the winter. And I do think Carhartts or wearing like your bibs and stuff while you're riding helps a ton. And it gets back to opportunities for you to go back to conditioning your pony and doing like more of the foundational work. You can even just trot stuff and like work the game patterns and stuff. Like you don't have to go out there and practice like at speed every time.
Definitely. How do you feel like our team did, or like the organization overall this past year? Like, I can't believe the season's over, first of
That's
all. Like,
oh,
I
that's
feel
the
like
trauma.
it went so fast. And I thankfully got to make it to every single competition this season. I kept wondering if I was going to have to miss one or two, and I honestly almost missed the last one. I don't know how public I made this, but like our truck was in the shop, my pony was lame. Tom hurt his back, so he couldn't ride either. And the truck was supposed to be done on Wednesday, and it kept getting pushed off till Friday. The guy texts me Friday morning that we're supposed to leave, and he goes, "Hey, so an important pin broke that holds your tire onto the bearing. Like, I have to order this now, so you're not getting your truck back this weekend." And
Yeah.
like, I always have like a backup truck because I can borrow my dad's, but they were helping somebody move this past weekend, and they already told me this truck is not available because they knew
Yeah.
my competition was coming up and they knew that I might
Something could
need it.
happen.
So I was like, okay, well, we're not bringing the trailer, so we don't get like the heat, we don't get the refrigerator, we don't get the
Yep.
microwave, like we don't get any of our camping stuff. I have to like start from scratch. So camping like that way was completely different for us. And then the fact that the competition was happening kind of around football season made it super hard to find a hotel that was
Yep.
even available within like a 50-mile radius.
Plus it's
Like,
expensive. Like
yes, exactly. It was like $400 a
I
night,
know.
like 30 minutes away from the Grange. It was
Yeah.
so bad. So we were like, okay, well, we didn't even have a tent. We didn't even have a tent. So I was like, I don't even know if we get to come. And it was Friday morning, but it was
It's
fine.
no, it definitely is surreal that the season is over already. Like
Mhm.
I feel like the older I get, and I know I'm not like up there, but I'm starting to feel it.
Yeah.
Like you start to feel like the time is going by so much faster, and you need to be even more intentional with your time than you ever were
Yes.
before,
Yes.
because it's like literally you blink and the season starts and it's over. And
Right.
I keep looking at it now and I'm like, all right, where were there opportunities for me to be more engaged with my horse, with my team? Like, just in general, you kind of have to mentally debrief and be like, all right, it was only 6 months, but like, what did we accomplish? What were the highs of riding? And I definitely feel like Hero improved like so much this season. He's finally kind of come into his own. We finally figured out how to get me up there. Like
Yeah.
he and with that, I think he got less frustrated with me all around and we started and it's like a feedback cycle. I think that we talked about this with Katie just a little bit, but it's like a feedback cycle and when you have negative interactions with your pony, you can't get up and the pony gets frustrated and then you get frustrated and you
Right.
lose confidence and vice versa. Like you have to do the same with repairing that relationship. And once we started to put some pieces together, it's like the others started falling into place because he's less frustrated. I'm less frustrated. We both believe in each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with the team dynamic too. I'm really proud of our team overall. So we all last winter were planning to go 025, right? We didn't really have the confidence. We're like, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to hold our own out there. And some of the riders are a little bit newer, super athletic, incredible riders, but they're just newer. So you're like, okay, is the confidence there? I think we all just made a decision like, all right, let's do this. Let's step up and see how it goes. And we ended up getting fifth at like MA1 or MA2.
Yeah.
Like we did really pretty
I
solid.
feel like that honestly like set the precedence for the entire season. And we were like, oh, we're like a solid fifth, even
Yeah.
though we ended up getting like eighth for the rest of the season. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it like gave us the confidence because we did get fifth.
Yeah.
And it was such a really cool season. Completely different season that I've ever
Exactly.
had. And it was really, really cool.
It was so neat too you're right, like we ended up lower in the pecking order like
Yeah.
as we went. But that competition, I think it was MA2 where we got fifth. That was the competition where all of our ponies and all of our riders were present.
Yep.
And then after that, we ended up having like ponies would go lame or riders weren't able to
Fill-ins.
attend. So we
Yep.
had fill-ins and we were working like handoff issues. And honestly, handoffs really make or break races. Like they do. It is hard with new riders to be successful with handoffs as you're figuring out ponies, everything, right? So I think it was an eye opener for me, like how much we have to be adjustable to new riders coming in on that mix. And we really didn't have a stable mix, I think, the rest of the season, which is no problem. Like, must have been MA1 because I think Annie missed MA2. I think you're right.
I think it was MA1.
I think we like started really strong. So
yeah, yeah, we really did somehow.
So yeah, the fact that the season is over now, and I'm like, you just walk away from the last competition. We had some weather issues. I definitely felt like, especially because I'd taken on 2 training horses over the past month, and they really like were my focus. I didn't put as much effort into my horse, and it showed when we were out there. Like, there were some skills, my timing wasn't quite there, but everyone on our team like was so supportive and encouraging that it didn't really matter. I think we all were just looking at our individual performance and where we felt like we were strong or where we felt like we could plug in and do better. So that's so exciting. Like, I walked away from this, season, and I'm like, okay, I have a handful of things I really want to work on, but I can't wait to see these girls again and get back out there.
Right. I have a little list for myself of things that I need to work on for next season. And then like also things that we need to work on like overall as a team. And I feel like if we all actually like work on this together, separately, but together, at the same time, then we're going to come back like even stronger. And that's just really exciting. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. And I know like, it's so cool being on a team with other girls that are in like same age, same place in life, and we're all like really excited to see each other. We're like, how do we do a meetup this winter, or is there any competitions we can try to host or organize? Like, just staying engaged and involved. And if you haven't found a team that's settled like that yet, like, I think continuing to build yourself up to be the best teammate that you can be and see what you can get out of riding with a bunch of other people in the meantime. Like, just, you got to continue like pursuing growth, right? So it definitely has taken a long time to get a mix where I'm like, we're all in a similar place in life. And so it's very validating. Like, if I'm exhausted and struggling with my job, I know that you guys are too. Like, we're all stepping out there together. We do play. Must have been MA1 because Annie missed MA2. So I was thinking about skills. And actually, ironically, I remember that Kate was like, I didn't know about pushing the flag forward towards home, and we had talked about it on our last show. And I think that so we're talking about placing bottles and how there's different ways of doing that. There's also different ways of picking flags. So flags are another one that can be a little bit technical and like, do I have any flag-like objects around me? But
use like a pencil or a pen.
Yeah, ish. Okay, I'm known to like throw things around this room. Done it every single time. Okay, I got my pen. It's little. So this is your flag. That's the direction. Oh wow, that's really.
Annie's on.
Over. Annie! Hey girl! So good to see teammates on here. Makes me so happy. Okay, flag picks. So Kate and I were actually talking about, I almost hit my wine glass. Jen is very blonde. All right. So we were talking about flag picks, which are huge, right? At speed, and the different ways that people who are successful pick their flags. And there's some people who swear you can only do it one way, and I don't believe that. I think there's multiple ways that you do it depending on what's happening.
So many ways.
So many different ways with your flags. I'm like, I feel like I should have games equipment in here before our show. I'm gonna get some for next time.
I actually have flags behind me.
Girl, you can show them.
I don't know what we're showing them.
Okay, so this is my flag. And I gotta mirror everything, so it's a little struggle here. I tried picking up the flag your way, Jen. Let me highlight this one. It worked really well in 5 flag. I didn't pull the cone over. Okay, so I will get equipment to show you guys, but this was a huge takeaway that I had when I was competing in Ireland, and the coach had brought it up, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So hang on, this is gonna matter. I'm gonna go get a thing. Give me 1 second. Ugh.
She's leaving me alone, but she also doesn't realize that I don't have controls over anything. So if anything happens, I can't fix it. I honestly don't know what to talk about. The one time, so she's talking about picking up flags. My favorite practice ever was with Matt Brown. And we were practicing at a tiny little indoor in like Berryville, Virginia. I forget the actual name of the indoor, but he would put the flags in an uncut cone, right? And he would put it right down the center, and he'd be like, "Okay, now full blast. If you can pick the flag up out of the uncut cone with that teeny tiny little hole at a flat out canter, then you're picking the flag up the correct way, basically." So he would just have us like drill that in our winter practices, and I really miss doing that, and I want to do that again now.
That's what I'm saying. So we're
Yeah.
going to try to organize some winter practices at the
Yeah.
indoor where Carly boards in Maryland. So that's exciting. Stay tuned
Yes.
for that. This was a really, so I'm very confident in my abilities in 5 flag and picking flags. So I'm just going to say I'm pretty much an expert, but not really, but kind of.
You have years of experience. You should be an expert at this point.
Oh, this is going to get messy, but we're okay. Very good if you have very dry hands. Utterly smooth.
Oh, wow.
The largest paintbrush that I own, which is going to be my flag for demonstration. So this was huge. When I was in Ireland, typically, if you're looking, this is my cone. Okay. Here's my cone. And there's your flag, okay?
Okay.
So you got your little flag that's hanging out in there. And you think, can you hear me if I stay back from the mic? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. All right. So this is our little flag in our cone. I need mini equipment. And if you're galloping home to get equipment, typically they would tell you, figure out how I can be in view here, that stay back. You would want to keep your hand open, kind of like this, right?
Right.
And grab it from here, and then you're going to pull out.
Ew.
Ew, that's very slimy. Okay, it's fine. it's slime. Okay, but desk equipment. This is great. Unfortunately, I have to hold it up here. It's not in my camera. The slime is strong though because it keeps your fingers from breaking. So the way that you can do it though, if you're galloping, is think about displacing the speed of you galloping home when you pick your flag, right? If you are not right on top of your flag where you can do that nice like pick where you pull from the palm of your hand and whip around, if you have to grab it like this, then think about pressing it against the back of the cone as you do. So like, let me get into here. You're going to push back and push as hard against the back of the cone as you can as you pull it out. And when you do that, even though you're tipping forward here, the back of this is flipping the cone and it'll stay. So like try that at home sometime, like go to dead gallop. And when you go to pick it, like snatch it like this, but then push against the back of the cone as you pull out as hard as you can. Like you've got to counteract that gallop speed. And you will, the reason that we would do that too is if you have a flag that is reached out on the far side of the cone, and so it's really far away from you, even if you've got long arms, like that is where you can't really grab it with your palm because you're just not at the angle too. Like you have to reach this way. And with you reaching that way, the only way to keep the cone up so that you don't just drag the cone forward is to push it against the back of the cone. So just try that. Back of the cone and out. And you won't pull cones that way. Now, if you are galloping and your pony's right on top of the cone and the flag is on the side that you want it to be on, it's very easy for you to kind of grab with your palm like this and thumb, and then you're going to pull out like this, right?
So you don't grab it. So do you grab it like where it's like between your fingers, like this ever? Or do you grab it more like this, or do you grab it like that?
It depends on how far away I am from the cone as I'm galloping home. So let's get back here. Okay. All right. So here is my cone. Okay. And, if I'm riding and my pony is like, twist this out of the way even more. If I'm galloping and my pony is right on top of the cone, so it's close to my body, right, I'm going to grab it like this. Mm-hmm. If it's midway out, I'm maybe going to grab it like, think about the angle of your arm, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we still want to be able to reach it and not be dragging cones. So if you're right on top of it, the best way that you can ever grab them is like this.
It just, mechanics make sense to whip it around.
Okay.
And yes, Joy, I see she says they are so whippy for the plastic flags. It does work. I practice almost exclusively on plastic flags at this point. Actually, it works better on plastic flags than it does on wood flags. So yeah, if you're right on top of it, grab it like this, whip it around, my shtick. If you are reaching out, that's where you start doing like the one finger thing. You'll kind of grab it like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And whip it around, same thing. But there are times where the flag is like tipping away from you, or it's further, right? You don't want to be checking up when you're at a gallop, or if your pony is drifting and for some reason you can't get close to it, so your arm naturally has to be out if it is, and you grab it like this, you will always drag a cone unless you're intentional about pushing the back of it against the cone as you pull out.
Okay.
So if you do that, you can gallop, and what Joy was saying about it being whippy, she's right. It'll flex a little bit, and in that flex, it actually just whips the cone back up so that it doesn't pull. Also, all right, so let's get Val's comment here.
She says, I used to pick them that way, but Babyface is too fast for my quick twitch muscles. So now I have my hand the other way and whip it out and back in old school PC windmill and twirl it excessively.
So hand the other way. Describe that for me, Val. Which way? There's 3 ways. We're going to go with, all right, hang on. There's way 1, which we're going to say is the palm. There's way 2, which is your finger. And there's way 3, which is going to be the fist, let's say. And Val is very dramatic and cool, Kimberly. I absolutely agree with you.
Right. Babyface is extremely fast.
He's so fast and wonderful. This is going slippery.
Oh, Krista said something. Krista said, I also do palm down and whip it back and flip through my fingers. That sounds really fancy.
What you're talking about is, we'll do it from here, right? So if it's close to me, I'm going to grab it like this. Palm down.
Yeah.
Palm down. I'm like, what is palm down, Val? Or Krista? Okay. So thumb, we pull and we whip and we come up. And then you can do the finger. I'm gonna slosh this thing onto my camera or something.
Gross.
All right. And then you can do like the finger grab where you pick it like this and you come around. Or don't judge me. Or you could be reaching way out there. And when you do, that's where you're going to push it really hard against the back of the cone so you don't tip it. And you're going to flip it back up or flip it back up and around through your fingers. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Ah! Oh, God.
If my husband walked in here right now,
it's just over here like stabbing some, what is it called?
Pot of lotion.
Utter butter? I don't know.
Yeah. Palm down, pick between the thumb and the first finger.
Palm down? How do you get that, Krista? What?
All right, palm down. Do you mean like this?
Like
is
this?
It palm down because of that motion? Is that what you're saying? And then thumb and first finger, so this way. Right?
So that would be way number 2.
Right? I need validation, Krista. This will keep me up at night.
Krista, let's go. Let's go. What's
Come
the
on,
answer?
Girl. She probably submitted it and we're waiting for the satellite.
I know. I need a refill.
But Val, you're right. Like, and this comes back to like any skill in mounted games, like at least 90% of the skills, it just is dependent on what works for you and your pony. I think it is good if you're going to be like a 5th rider on a team for say like 5 flag, 2 flag, where you got to do those picks at speed on the way out. It's important to practice having the flag positioned. I know, Joy, that's what I'm saying. Do like a workshop or something here. Joy said we need to have cameras so we can all demonstrate. Everyone jumps in and tells us all the different ways you can pick a flag.
Like a Zoom meeting or something.
Right? But it's so important for you to practice with the flag facing a bunch of different directions because you don't know. And also it's important to practice when they get clumped together, right? So Krista.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, reach your arm out for a pick, palm up and reach around, then do it palm down and reach around. You have more reach and control palm down.
Are you saying like this and then you snatch backwards? Is that the idea?
Reach your arm out for a pick.
I think that's what she means,
your
right?
arm out, and then you
So
reach
you're-
around.
Yeah.
Val says agree.
Versus like this.
Hi, Zoe. Zoe's joined us.
Stretch your arm forward for the pick. I'm stretched. I'm stretched. I'm stretched. Like
Right.
that. Okay.
So your palm's down, Genevieve,
I guess so.
right? Your palm's down at that point. Then just reach more like your pony's
Yep.
not close enough, she says.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a desk. I can only go so far, Krista. Here you go. I'm out, and then we pick our flag. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that I was gonna call you out, but thank you, Val, for saying like that's not what Krista meant. But so the only way that I would advise you do not pick a flag,
No, nothing.
and I think everyone here does agree, is you don't want to be swiping backwards at it. Like this is our cleaner flag here. When you go to pick your flag, right, you don't want to be putting your hand ahead of the flag and swiping backwards at it, because potentially if your pony's going too fast, your timing's off at all, you're going to miss your flag. And it's very hard to not drag a cone when you do that too. So example, here's our flag. If I'm going like this, no matter how fast my pony's going, at some point I'm going to collide with it. And then it's just my job to push against the back of the cone and pull out. If I go like this and swipe backwards, then it's very easy for my pony to outpace me and then miss it. And you see a lot of people when they're new to flag skills, they'll start swiping at it, which is what I call it, when you kind of go backwards.
Oh,
And as
yeah.
soon as your pony's pace like changes at all, you're just not going to be set up for success. So never swipe backwards at it. You always want to be reaching forward. And in theory, no matter what happens, you want to potentially collide with the object, right? So whether it's like this, whether it's like that, or whatever, just don't swipe backwards at it as you go. Another thing that's important, I think, when you're new to flags is like how you set it down. Like ideally you want to be having this flag like in your hand and you're going to use it as like an extension of your finger, versus you see some people who are new to flag games and they try to do it like this, like a javelin. I don't know. Like a pencil. Right? So definitely you want it whenever you have something like a sword or a flag or joust, whatever it is, think about making it an extension of your person versus like a broken angle or something of that nature. Like you want it to come straight from your forearm. It just gives you a lot more accuracy.
Annie says staying ahead of the motion. 100%.
Yes. So important, particularly if your pony's like a Spitfire, right?
And I want to say also like follow through with it. Like make sure your like eyes are on it, and then you actually have to bend your entire body to go back with it. And that way you don't drag the cone. Like that's honestly the way that I figured out how to do flag, because I've learned the hard way. I've tried to grab behind and completely missed. I remember the first season with Remington. It was actually MA6. I had just purchased him, and I'd only had him for like a month or two, and that was his first competition ever. With the Seaboars. And I remember that was one time that I tried to grab backwards, and that was like a moment I will never forget. Never do that again, ever. And that's basically how I learned, was doing things wrong.
Well, and Val is so right. It does go for ring race. It's another one where you have on the far side of the arena, you're going to have a bending pole, and it's going to have like a peg sticking out of it that you set your ring on as you go. And then you come back to a pole that's near the start line, and it's going to have 4 rings on it cascading. And a lot of riders, when they go to grab it, they kind of swipe backwards. Same thing though. You're not set up for success with the motion and the course of motion that you have. Like you're kind of going against the grain. And if your pony does anything different, like your timing is just going to be off. You're not going to collide with the object, right? So don't swipe backwards. I mean, other than setting like bottles down, I guess that's the difference. When you're picking something up, you always want to have it ahead of you
when you're setting stuff down, there's a lot more opportunity for you to actually have it behind because you don't want to interact with it once you've set it. Like a bottle, right? You'd maybe want your hand on the backside so that you don't collide afterwards. But if you're picking a bottle, you would never swipe backwards to pick a bottle, right? You would only go from the back end.
Right.
That makes sense?
Right.
Right.
Annie says release like a handoff. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's just the follow through motion of it to kind of, I don't know, take away from like the impact of your grab. You know what I mean?
Well, and I liked what you were saying too about eye contact. I don't think we talk about that enough.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, if you have a dedicated coach and you're blessed to have that, a lot of riders don't, but it matters so much what you're doing with your eyes and where your focus is on the skill set. Like if I'm picking something up, my eyes need to follow through. If I'm setting like mugs down, they should follow through unless you have an activity immediately after, and then be conscious of where you're looking. Because if I'm looking at my mug back there and I'm still galloping, I'm not going to pick the next one up, you know?
Right. Right.
Same thing with handoffs. Are your eyes on the handoff? Are they on the next rider? Like, being intentional about those cues. It's not just for you, but also for your horse. So they know where you're focused, you know?
I feel like mug shuffle is probably one of the hardest races for me because it's getting that timing down. And I either mentally am like the next phase of that race because it's so fast paced and there's so many things happening at one time, or I'm just being drugged behind. Like I'm like too busy making sure everything's good behind me before I'm like ready to pick up the next mug. I don't know. I can't figure out my timing this year. I've sucked at mug race, like the mug
It
shuffle.
definitely like learning to be snappy in mug shuffle specifically because it's such a speed race, but it's also kind of accuracy. You got to be quick with like your body language. And I think the first mug you pick up, getting settled like quickly and ready to set it down and being concise in that motion on that first set, like that's the one where you're not going to follow and linger too much, particularly if your pony's galloping. Like it's got to stay shoulder and forward. Like you don't want your motion going too far back.
Right.
Sure, you follow through enough, but like your whole body should not be falling into the back seat. And then I think that second one, like being snappy, you've got to be real snappy to set and then be ready for the next one. Otherwise you'll fall behind. Yeah. Priscilla, hello.
Hi. I feel like mug shuffle is so much muscle memory and trusting your rhythm. See, and that's what I can't figure out. Like I don't trust my rhythm whatsoever.
It's so hard to find a rhythm. Imagine, like, particularly if you're swapping ponies or you're training other ponies or getting on like a borrowed pony. There's some races like mug shuffle that are so hard because you've got to partner like rhythmically with your horse.
And I've been on 3 horses this season, basically. And it's just figuring out that rhythm. I can't do it. I can't. I shouldn't be in that race.
Agreed with the rhythm. It is so important. Yep. Priscilla, it's one of those you just have to practice over and over and over and over. Yeah. You are so right. Like,
yeah. Oh, Zoe has a good one. She says having an adjustable pony really helps too, instead of one that just barrels down the lane at whatever speed they want. Absolutely. Remington does this thing where he porpoises. So I've intentionally requested not to be in that race, but I have other team members that also don't want to be in that race. So we kind of took turns before he went lame. And it's just so hard to get a rhythm when your pony's unpredictable.
That's so true what Annie's saying too. Like touch and go. If you aren't like the best at mug shuffle at speed, I mean, you've got to set a rhythm in your head. Like when I ride my horse, because he does tend to just blast off, like first mug were collected, you set it down, I kind of half halt, and from there, like I get out of his way. I got like that one half halt where we might be effective, but past that too, it's so important what Margot said here. Get out of the saddle. This is so huge.
Yeah.
Can't tell you enough how many, like, you have to, particularly if you have a pony that just blasts off, you have to stay with or ahead of the motion to be able to be active with your pony. If you fall behind, like, you're not going to be effective in your skills or in like handoffs. Got to get up out of the saddle and then stay up with their shoulders.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just not going to be effective. Your timing is going to fall.
Right.
Practice with a fence post as you hack around. What do you mean by that, Shannon? I'm curious.
Practice with a fenced post.
Are you thinking about your timing?
Mm.
Like you're just, as you're hacking, you're just kind of like,
You can kind of like measure your rhythm that way.
Yeah.
If you ride next to a fence.
that's kind of a neat idea. I've
That'd be good for
been
you.
taught to do that too when you are like eventing and you're trying to learn your striding for jumps, right? Is like you set a rhythm beside the fence. And so you get an idea of how long it takes for my horse to go into that cycle.
Right.
That's really neat. Now I've got to think about that when I hack out.
Mhm,
That's really good
mhm.
feedback, Shannon. Annie being the best encourager ever.
Yes, Jen. Yes, exactly. I think
But
that's
yeah.
when you were talking about just like letting the pony go after the
Yeah.
second month. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there comes a point when you're, let me come back to Annie's comment. It's so important, particularly when you're newer to games or you have like maybe you just got your first step up pony or your pony is pushing your buttons and they want to move out. Like it's important for you to know when to pick a fight and when to just ride the energy that you have and making sure that you don't override because there's a point where it's much smoother if you're just going quicker. And you find this too in competition. Like if you're in open or whatnot, you're running home, be accurate. Well, there's times where it makes way more sense for me to just let my pony go, get out of their way and focus on my skill than to try to force them to be slow when they're fighting me, right? You get out of sync.
I noticed that last season with Remington, it was kind of like a breakthrough we had where it was like, I remember Tommy like yelling at me from the sidelines saying, take your time, circle it. But like, I knew if I circled it, there was a bigger potential of me missing it because I don't practice circling it. Like we don't do that. So like, just do it the way we normally do it and get out of his way and let him set his own speed.
Yep.
Yeah. It was definitely better this year because of it.
Yeah, Annie's so right about practicing and trusting yourself, like learning to move with them and pushing yourself too at home in practice. Your pony's usually going to go slower than in competition. So like egg them on, push it so that you can start practicing that at speed.
Yeah.
Margot, I've found mug shuffle and canter vaults are weirdly similar. You have to get ahead and then determine the rhythm and hit the spot. I struggled for years because my jog went so well with the trot for a vault, but keeping that rhythm and footwork is key to canter vaulting despite the 3-beat canter.
That's such good advice.
That's
I like
where
want
you
to
start.
Screenshot that and save that forever.
Okay, just print it. We're gonna put it in our tack room.
Literally.
Thinking about rhythm, you know, if you're cantering or if you're trotting, well, trotting is easier because it matches our natural rhythm when we run, right? But that's where you see people who are learning to vault at the canter and they kind of like do the skip. And you're right. It's because now you're pacing yourself to their rhythm. So that's cool. I'm going to have to focus on that again when I go back out there to vault, like keeping the rhythm, matching my horse who's cantering. Joy mentioned 2-point helps because you don't have to absorb the pony's motion. So true. So true. So I bring this up all the time again with handoffs. If I have somebody get on my pony, because I like having other people get on my pony to try to play, but if they're going to do handoffs on him, you got to know he's going to blast off. And the best thing you can do is get into 2-point when you're ready. So you sit tall, you sit, you know, heavy so your pony waits. But when you commit to it, you get up in 2-point. Don't let their motion interact with you and you just ride forward and play your skill set, right? So learning when to do sit and heavy versus getting up in 2-point and riding the motion, going with them.
I need to practice that more with Remington.
Huge.
He relies so much on my seat though that it's almost I want to practice that now. Like I really want to just try to get in 2-point and see how he reacts. Because I feel like that's going to be a connection that he's like looking for.
I think it's the way that I like to see it. It's like when I'm teaching people about contact in mounted games, it's like you want your contact to be effective, which means that you have to let it go sometimes. So like if I'm going to check up my pony, I have to keep giving the release so that they're aware when I really need something from them.
Yeah.
Like it should never be constant pressure. And I think it's the same thing with our seat and our like half seat. If we're going to be heavy on them, we need to also give them times where their back is free and there's just motion.
Yeah.
Like, because then it's more effective when I sit heavy. They're like, oh, she means something. Like,
that's such a good point.
It's a mental game. 100%. Vaulting is a mental game. Like, people who are good at vaulting are mental and trying to get there. Like, it is such a mental game.
Maybe when I hit like 35, I'll be a good vaulter.
Shh, I only have 3 years now. Thanks.
I was giving myself 5, so it's fine.
Shannon, the fence posts are really close together and you get your arms used to the motion. Just tap the tops. Oh, okay. So as you ride, you're just tapping it to get yourself through. Okay, I like that.
Just figuring out that rhythm.
Yeah. And it's
Creating that
something you
muscle
can
memory.
practice while conditioning your pony, which is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. And it doesn't like overwhelm them with just constant games too.
Yeah. Zoe, it's good to teach them to listen though, too, or you'll end up with a pony that only goes the speed they want uncontrollably. Yes.
Right.
Just know when you're asking it or when you're not. Like, you know what I mean? Be intentional about the ask to go slow. And I think not picking so much of a fight when you are asking it. Like, I see some riders that are like, I want my pony to stand. Let's say ball and cone. Like, they have to stand. It doesn't matter. Like, they just have to stand. And you get to a point where a pony starts wanting to rear and go up because they feel so contained versus reading the situation and being like, okay, maybe walking is the best we got, but that's still responsiveness and that much energy is balled up.
Yeah.
Zoe, I mostly ride in half seat, but out of the saddle most of the time. I feel like it helps the pony and rider stay steady. Yes.
Yes. It also helps with like body conditioning, like your
Yes.
actual body. Like I was going to say, going to the gym like consistently for the past year has been so helpful when it comes to me balancing my own weight and not relying on the pony to hold me up half the time. Like that has really helped me with my ability to sit in 2-point and get out of the saddle anytime I feel like I need to. And that I know that I'm easier on, you know, my pony's back and everything like that.
No, it's I think just being intentional, right? If you're going to be out of the saddle, it depends on the pony rider combo too. There are riders that naturally have what I would call like a hot seat and you sit on that pony, but you're so much anxious energy that you just build them up too much.
Yeah.
That's where a rider being in half seat maybe is a little bit more helpful for the pony. But if you need to slow and steady your pony down, like Joy has a comment here. Use your seat to slow down.
Yeah.
See way too many riders in 2-point yanking on the pony's face.
Yes.
Your seat and body is an aid, right?
Mhm.
So we use it intentionally, whether it's out of the saddle or it's in the saddle. But you don't want to neglect it as like an aid, you know, either.
Zoe, sometimes circling helps for a pony who won't stand. Some ponies just need to move their feet. Absolutely. I feel like Genevieve has great advice when it comes to the like find a place for the energy to go. Like I learned so much from just seeing her ride her very energetic ponies to like sitting on them and her coaching me through it. It's so eye-opening to sit on a pony that has so much energy and they don't know where it needs to go. And like as a newer rider, you don't really know where it needs to go either until you can get some coaching behind that. It's like forward, get all of the energy to go forward. Circling's okay. Like let's just put the energy to good use.
Exactly.
And so everybody can feel confident and happy and don't blow anybody's mind.
It's like if you're working out or something, right? It can be just as exerting for you to plank on the ground or to do a wall sit for 2 minutes as it is for you to sprint.
Yeah.
And the pony is in a place when they get super excited where they just need exertion. Like the energy just has to move somewhere.
Right.
And we get so caught up on the end result of standing or stopping and cutting that energy off when really I think we need to be more interactive with our pony than that and thinking about how to displace it, right? Just like you're saying. And same thing if you have a pony that's really excited and like warm up. I teach people like you got to engage with your pony and make them work physically, like make them do kind of the crunches by moving off your leg or make them get engaged by getting round in the bridle and carrying over their back. Or if you're doing a skill set out in the field, like do something with the energy. Don't just ask them to turn it off because it's not going to happen. Like if you've ever been anxious, like it's really hard. I'm one of those people.
Especially somebody
I don't
says,
sit still.
Just chill. Just chill. It's like, oh, okay. Then you just blow up, right? It's like the same thing. If you have a horse that wants to like just launch and you just smack them in the head and you're like, just chill, then obviously they're going to blow up.
Exactly. No, It's just not, it's not going to happen. And ponies that are naturally geared that way, and it's when you're buying a pony and you're shopping for ponies, think about that too. Like, where's their mind at? Because the pony is going to have a natural level of engagement and a natural amount of energy. And a really energetic pony can be super sensitive and electric to ride and work with, but it's never going to shut off.
No.
Versus a pony who can shut off, but maybe isn't going to be as electric and as engaged as another pony would, right? So you've got different kinds of ponies when you're sorting. That's like the whole mind thing. But don't go out and buy a pony because you're like, oh, it's wicked fast, and then expect that you're going to be able to get it to park every day. It's very, very hard to find that pony. Margot, understanding your body's influence on your pony is huge. So huge. All winter, guys. If you're going to drill anything, think about how you're impacting your pony with your voice, your hands, your seat, and your leg, right? All of your aids. Val, you need to learn how to shed your pony's nervous energy for them. Babyface gets so excited. I can feel his heartbeat before the first race.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
I mean, they're your
Babyface.
partners, right?
Yes.
And if you've ever ridden with a teammate that has a lot of anxious energy, you have to find ways of helping to positively redirect that too. Like, God, you did this so well, and you've got this, and you just got to move their mind in a positive way. Play the race before you go out there and ride, right? It's just to get you engaged. Same thing with your pony. They're not that different from us, guys.
Do you see Priscilla's comment? Go back to Priscilla's real quick. She says another thing is to think about is calming your body and your mind, and they'll feed off your calmness. Yep,
Preach.
100%. Like I just have to like consciously tell myself, take a deep breath and relax every muscle you possibly can in your body, and that really does like feed through.
I love my brother. Make sure you don't buy for speed, but buy for color palette.
That's because Tommy thinks I bought for color palette.
For Remy?
Yes, he tells me all the time. He's like, you only bought it because he's cute. And I'm like,
that's a fair.
Well,
I have a type.
50% of the reason is because he was cute and he was my first pony. So I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Right. But also he didn't spook at any of the equipment. And I found that very important.
I love Zoe.
Oh, Zoe, thank you.
A good horse is never a bad color. You know what's really funny? One pony that I bought,
so true.
Cisco, he is a really bold Grula, right? And I was in my teens. I got him from auction, and he was like an old ranch horse, but he was the coolest horse you've ever ridden. But I remember the farmer I went with to this auction, he was like, he is the ugliest horse that I've ever seen, but I guess that a good horse is never a bad color. He was gorgeous, mind you, but he wasn't the standard chestnut bay black, right? So it's like, he's just ugly. Look at those stripes. Like,
so mean.
But you're so right? A good horse really is never a bad color. It's true, honestly.
Go back up to Margot.
Well, before, because I just left that too long. It's a balance from Annie. Fast ponies have advantages, and so do more steady ponies. You have to ride them to best meet their skill set and yours. Different riders and ponies have different needs. And that's also why you want to have a good mix on your team. You don't want 5 fast ponies and 5 anxious riders.
No.
When you see that happen, and it does happen sometimes, it usually is a recipe for disaster. Way too much chaotic energy. And it usually like spirals negatively, right? On the flip side, you don't want to have 5 riders that aren't pushing each other, that have no anxious energy. That's where it's like a balance, right? In everything in life. It's good to have the challenge of people who are very different from you on a team. Same thing with even you and your pony being very different, because it's good if I'm a quiet rider and my pony is anxious energy, because we push each other, right?
Right.
And we can influence each other positively. I found a lot. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. I found a lot of riding as being at the right point in understanding influence and hearing the right thing at the right time, especially when people have grown up riding and it's mostly muscle memory. So true. A million people can say the right thing at the wrong time, and the rider will not understand it until they understand their body enough to get it. Margot, you're just full of like so much wonderful knowledge.
Can we
Thank
we're gonna
you.
screenshot this? I
Seriously.
gotta be able to put this on the TikTok.
I'm like, wow. Like, I just want to
No.
mull on this for a second.
So Margot, you're gonna message me with your availability to come on for an interview, right?
Yes, please.
But no, you're so right. Joy also has incredible points here too with conditioning. And I think as games riders, we get so hooked on the thought of doing our skill set for mounted games that we don't step back and think about foundational stuff about communicating with our horse, knowing what all of our aids are, and understanding the influence that our aids have on the pony and when they're giving you the kind of reaction that you want. And I think people who are good at training horses or have gotten good at it because they've ridden a lot of horses have only done that because they've had a lot of communication failures and kind of figured out how to work through that, those blocks. It's hard. It really is. Let me make sure I've gone through all these. Tommy Bottle. Yeah, we know that.
Tommy talking about Charlie.
Let's get down here. Yes, I'm telling you. Charlie is ugly as heck, but he is built like a 1998 Toyota Camry. I think Charlie's adorable.
Charlie's so
He's
cute.
the cutest pony.
He's
okay.
so cute.
He's so cute.
He's like a teddy bear in a pony body.
And he's got the prettiest eyes of
Yes.
any pony. So if you haven't seen him, he's a Pasofino quarter horse. Crazy, right? Charlie, we're going out there. This is like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago now when the accident happened.
Yes. Okay,
Something
so it's
like
the
that?
first season I competed in games, which would be 2017. It was Super Bowl night, but he got hit by a truck.
Yep, my Appaloosa gelding, Ruben, who was extremely good at opening locks, opened the gate and decided he was going to park himself in the stall while all the other ponies ran out on the highway. And Charlie got hit by a truck.
Ford F-150 totaled the truck.
It all the way up. Like, ironically, the driver was named Charlie, and ironically, the driver was safe. I guess not ironically, but he completely caved in, muscle atrophy into his shoulder from where he took the impact, and we didn't know if he was going to come back. It was
just a bone bruise.
It was crazy though. Over the next 4 weeks, all of his muscles had atrophied, so it looked like he was not going to be able to function again. No. It was a bone bruise, and this Pasofino quarter horse, literally 6 weeks later, is like, dude, let's go play some mounted games.
It's my first season in games. I just hop on this pony that totaled a Ford F-150 like 2 months prior. Literally, just hop on him, and he's fine. He was a tank. 100% Kimberly. Yep.
Yes. Charlie is adorable. See, more props to Charlie. He is freaking cute.
He's so cute. He has
caramel eyes.
Yeah, these hazel eyes with a little bit of blue sprinkles in them. They're so cute.
Gorgeous. He really is. And you're right. In the winter, he is the fluffiest of the fluffy.
Teddy bear. I'm telling you, he's
That's so cute.
Shannon says that Charlie isn't ugly. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you guys got Charlie from Shannon. Yes. So thank you, Shannon.
He's a Shannon bye. Shannon has the best ponies. Shout out to Shannon. Literally so many incredible games ponies have turned out of your farm.
Honestly.
I can't wait to see you again. I know that you're going to go to the PA pairs. I got to figure out a ride to PA pairs, so we're still on the fence, but someday I'll get that brand new truck and it'll be mine. I'll have power. We're not there yet. I've not arrived. But so true. Any other thoughts, questions, subjects that you want to touch on? Otherwise,
we're wrapping it up.
Pushing an hour and 8 minutes here. About ready to wrap it up. We do have a debrief with our team that's going to be recorded this week, and hopefully we'll get to air it in the next 2 weeks or so. I'm really excited about that. Yes. Get to talk more about the chemistry on the team and how people have kind of come into competing at this level. So you guys, thank you so much. I see that there was up to 18 people that were viewing us, but we only have 8 likes. So before you leave this stream, subscribe, go to our YouTube and subscribe. It's the best way for us to build up other people coming onto the show when they see that we have more viewers, more subscriptions, more engagement. And Shannon, ponies that have meltdowns only off the property. Yes, that is why it is so important for you to practice off property and get yourself and your pony exposure. Yep. So that is good for them. Same thing with trailering, honestly.
Yeah, just get them off the property.
I see that people are starting to wrap up here. Thank you again.
Alrighty.
We've gotten up to 11 likes. We have 13 more viewers, guys.
Yay,
There's
thank
2 more
you.
people that have not liked this. So please like, subscribe, share this if you can. We'll be back next Wednesday. And oh my gosh, I forgot to give away a ribbon. I do
That's
this
okay.
every time.
That's okay. Tell them they
So
have to
here's
come
the
back
deal,
next
guys.
week because then your
Next
ribbon will be
week-
finished and you get to show it off.
Next week, we're going to be giving away 3 ribbons. 3 of them. 3 ribbons. So
Yes.
I'm almost done editing Krista's episode.
Okay. Chris's
So
episode
excited
is
for
going to
that.
be dropped next week on Monday. Everybody be on the lookout. That interview is absolutely so much freaking fun. We had such a good time getting to talk about being an organizer, getting to travel as an actual competitor versus as a chaperone, and all the different aspects of being involved in mountain games. And that's coming out on Monday of next week.
Kimberly asked, am I giving away platter ribbons or regular ribbons? Y'all want to see this. This thing is beautiful. The reason I didn't finish my epic Halloween ribbon is because my button maker actually broke. So I ordered a new $70 button maker just for you guys because I love you.
Oh my gosh.
Look at this. The Halloween ribbon of
so
ages.
Cute.
It's
So
going to be really pretty.
are the little danglies going to be black and orange or just black or just orange?
Black and orange
Black and
because
orange. Okay.
we're extra, guys.
Yep.
So I'm going to have more Halloween ribbons just like this for next week. You guys, but only, let's say this. I will only give out 3 if we get 20 viewers at once. So there's
20
that.
viewers. Yep.
20
I love it.
viewers at
How
once.
about 20 likes?
There you go. 20 likes next week.
Do you like that?
And then I
See if we
also
get
have
20
this
likes.
epic green one
Yeah.
here that
Oh,
is
that's
cooking.
gorgeous. Oh my
So I got a bunch of cool
gosh.
combinations that we're working for future weeks, guys. I
That
can't wait also for the
screams
holiday
Kimberly.
season. It's going to be so pretty. But
What?
since we're moving into Halloween, guys, this is
Yeah.
for next week. Please like, subscribe. And next week, we will see you again for our Wednesday night live. Thank you again for hanging in there. And you
Thanks,
guys go watch Worlds. I know that Worlds is going on right now. You can see the live stream.
Yes.
I'll share it to our Unbridled page as well so you can find it.
Go watch Adrian.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.